Department has released the embargo on our state report card. And so I want to be the one that gets to share the story about Cullman County Schools. And I've got a statement that I'll read out, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end. The Alabama Department of Education released Alabama State Report Card today, containing a letter grade for schools and school systems across the state, including all the schools in Cullman County. This year's state report card is simply a prototype with expected changes to come in the future. The majority of the report card is based on the Aspire test, which is important to point out that the State Department has ruled ineffective and discontinued its use already. But the results that we'll be talking about today are based on that test that we no longer use. The state of Alabama introduced the Alabama State Report Card so students, parents, taxpayers, and others could easily understand how their schools are performing. And just as report cards help parents understand how their children are performing, these report cards help the parents understand how the schools are performing. Alabama as a state received a letter grade of a C, and Cullman County Schools has received a B, and which reflects several different factors, including academic achievement, academic growth, chronic absenteeism, as well as graduation rates in college and career readiness for our high schools. Every student in our system is included in the data, regardless of exceptionalities or challenges. We take a lot of pride in educating all of our students, regardless of these individual challenges. Schools within our school system received a wide range of scores. Due to various grade level makeups of schools in Cullman County, many of their scores were determined by only a few indicators, or maybe didn't even have a score, much like Good Hope Primary. They had none of those indicators in their school, so they were not even assigned a grade. And I'm confident that Good Hope Primary would have helped our overall score in our district if they had gotten a grade. And that's one reason that it's a prototype, and they're looking at changes and they're welcoming changes from the public and from educators about things they can do to help this report card mean more than it currently does. Someone may ask, does a low grade mean that my school is bad? There are many factors that influence the quality of a school. The letter grade is simply a snapshot of how a school or a school system performed during the previous year. The grades will be used to identify areas that are performing strongly and areas that need improvement. Absenteeism is an area that hurt many of our schools, and this is an area that parents can definitely help us in. Unfortunately, excused and unexcused absences count negatively toward our absentee rate. For instance, this is flu season right now, and we have several students out with the flu as of today. We have several teachers out with the flu today. And then this situation, students that are out with the flu, even with doctors' excuses, currently count against us in our absenteeism rate and affect us negatively on this state report card. Our individual schools I'll go over, and I'll give you a hard copy of this as well, but we have scores that range anywhere from a school with a D to schools with an 89, which is 1 point away from being an A. And we have many schools that scored a C, and their numerical value is 78 or 79, so they're right on the verge of having a B. And yes, when you see these grades, I mean, they're painful for me to look at, especially knowing that the great things that are going on in the schools when I go out there and visit every day. At the same time, I take it personal because these scores are a reflection of our leadership. And that starts with me, and secondly, starts with our principals. Over the last couple of weeks, the schools have been holding data meetings to discuss the areas of need and ways that we can improve those and ways that we can target those areas. The letter grade is a snapshot of the school and a conversation starter for communities. It's not about pointing fingers, and it's intended to be a catalyst for discussion and improvement. Together, we'll continue to identify ways that we can provide our students with the best educational experience possible. The graduation rate for this report card is based on the graduation rate for the 2015-2016 school year. As a district that year, our graduation rate was 85%, fairly high when you compare it to several of the other graduation rates in Alabama. I'm proud to say that as of last year, for the 2016-2017 year, our graduation rate was the highest ever, and it was at 92%. So as you can see, even though this report card comes out today, we've already improved in a lot of areas from this data. Once again, this data is based on an 85% graduation rate, and last year we had a 92%. Every one of our high schools last year were in the 90s. We had anywhere from a 91% graduation rate at one school to a 95% at other schools. So I'm really proud about what we're doing in that area. While we're not satisfied with our scores, we do accept them. We have many exciting things happening in Cullman County that are not measured on this report card. Almost daily, we have students and teachers and schools earning awards or recognitions for their accomplishments. We have a really good school system, and it's getting better every day. Just this week, we had a school recognized as a school of excellence again for all the AP exams that they have students taking and passing, and we're really excited about that. Some of the things that we have going on that are not measured on this report card: we have athletic teams that are winning state championships. We have academic teams that are consistently winning state championships and competing at the national level. Band students earning state level awards. Multiple blue ribbon schools. A Leader in Me Lighthouse School for Leadership. We have a U.S. News rated top school in our school system. We have an A+ School of Excellence based on their AP exams that I mentioned earlier. We have an Inspires team that will be going up at the end of this school year to Washington, D.C. to be presenting to NASA about some projects that they've done because they won a state competition. We're real excited about that. We have FFA quartets that are ranked 3rd in the nation. We have CATA teams that are winning state and national competitions. We have certified outdoor classrooms. And we have students that are being recognized as National Merit Semifinalists. We have partnerships with businesses and industries and Wallace State Community College. And the list goes on. We also have many students that face a list of challenges from homelessness, poverty, mental and physical disabilities. We have broken families, victims of drug abuse, and early parenthood. While these may be challenges, they're not crutches for the students of Cullman County. If a student is willing to try, our educators will try multiple strategies to help them become successful and overcome any obstacle. We have faculty and staff that have stood in the gap for children that range in age from pre-K to 12th grade to give them a fighting chance to break that cycle of poverty. This may include providing food or clothes, many times providing money, school supplies, a warm home, and many times just a shoulder to cry on. And none of those things will show up on a state report card. But we're going to continue to do them because that is what makes Cullman County great. Our students become the backbone of our society. Our past students include homemakers, farmers, mechanics, plumbers, builders, doctors, sheriffs, state representatives, judges, reporters, engineers, lawyers. We even have a Fortune 500 executive that's graduated from a Cullman County School. We have many teachers and principals, and we even have a superintendent that attended Cullman County School. And the list continues to go on. We have people that are going to our schools and becoming successful contributors to our society, and we're excited about that. It's an exciting time to be part of the Cullman County school system. Of course, we have room for improvement, and we have a strategic plan to help us do that. And we continue to believe that the future is very bright for the students in Cullman County. Each school has developed a one-page document that talks to the point that they are more than a score. And that document looks like this. And I shared each one. I'll give you one of these as well. And each school will have a copy of their document. They're going to be sending it home with their students. And it tells about how they're addressing the strategic plan and some of the great things that makes their school wonderful. And then and that's all I have. If y'all would like to ask questions, I will take any questions.
Superintendent Barnette, I do have a question. You know, I remember being in school and it was all about your A, your B, your C, your D, your F, and you've enumerated a long list of reasons why that's not entirely a good assessment. How do you bring that into the state system so that your A's through F's mirror what you just talked about?
Well, we have been working. This is actually a bill that passed in 2012, and no one could agree, from representatives to state board members and educators in general, on agree the best way to measure that. Because there is no way that you can put one score, and even what we have now, what goes into scoring an elementary school is different than it is for a middle school and a high school. But yet we give them a letter grade and compare apples for apples. Much like we do a Cullman County school system, we compare it to some of the richest school systems in the state of Alabama, the Mountain Brooks and places like that. We put us all on the same scale, even though our demographics are much different than theirs, and the expectations, even though they're high, we want our kids to go do many things, many different things. So they are taking suggestions from the media, from parents, from educators. You can send your suggestions to the State Department. There's a link on their website where you can give suggestions. One of the suggestions that we have shared as superintendents is that there should be a component for kids doing extracurricular activities. How much is your child involved? Because I'll tell you right now, if you look at just an A being what we measure a child's success on, or a school success, I know a lot of people that go through school and have an A, they'll go get a 4-year, 6-year degree, and then they can't find a job. I would much rather have an average kid that goes through and they learn all that they can learn. They find that niche of what's going to make them happy and successful, and they go do that for the rest of their lives, and find that job and contribute to society. So that's not solved yet. We're working on that.
Gotcha.
I think there was on the prototype dashboard a section for student engagement that dealt with things like extracurriculars. Is that going to be included on the report?
We're hoping that it will. Okay. They asked for that information and asked us to supply how many of our kids are involved in activities, and we did that, and it's on there. But right now, it's not part of the number, okay. And it's really eye-opening when you see how many programs we have at each of our schools and how many kids are involved in those. And I would much rather have a well-rounded student than just somebody that just simply came there and done the schoolwork, went home, and then come back the next day. We have a lot of students that are involved in every kind of activity you can imagine, from archery to theater to everything. You know.
I had heard that one of the reasons the state canceled their contract with ACT over the Aspire test, because they're still using other ACTs, it's just the Aspire was the issue, right? Was that the 2016-17 report contained bad data. Was that cleared up before it was put into the report card, or is that still part of it?
No, that bad data is what makes up this report card.
Okay.
For our elementary schools, it makes up 90% of the report card. And that's why us superintendents, we end up standing here scratching our head because we're being judged on something or graded on something that the state themselves have already said, and the federal government has said, that that's not a good measurement tool. But yet we went ahead and measured us with it anyway. And that's where we're at.
Why is that? Who makes that decision to put handcuffs on you guys and make you have to dig out of a hole? That makes no sense.
Well, and I could talk in length to that may end up getting me in trouble. But
okay.
There is legislation that says that we have to have a state report card. And our State Department of Education is been given the task of coming up with a report card. And we've gone back and forth and tried to tweak it and make it as good as possible. There are a lot of entities out there that would love to say that our public school system in Alabama is failing. Because if it comes out that we're failing, then more money can be shifted to charter schools and things like that. And that there's a lot of lobbyists that are promoting the agenda for charter schools. And I'm telling you today, regardless of what a report card says, our public school system is not failing. It's doing great. And I know a lot of people that have come through our public school system in Cullman County and in Alabama and are leading very successful lives now. And it's even better today than it was yesterday.
Well, as a parent with a fourth grader, when the report came out the 1st of January, my first response is, wow, I'm failing as a parent. Parents have a role in this too, right?
Absolutely. They do. And I'll tell you, if you sit down with teachers and you talk to them, and some of the things that they're frustrated about is trying to get children to do their homework, trying to get them to continue to want to learn. to be at school. Our absenteeism, our school that received a D on their report card, they have the highest absenteeism in our district. And I will say this, they have addressed that, and it's much better today than it was when this data was generated. But that's a direct reflection of our families. If we don't send our kids to school, it's hard to teach them. And so they do. And, you know, we need to be reading with our children, and we need to be talking to our children about the importance of a good education and getting them to school. Ben, do you have any questions?
I don't at the moment. I'll probably harass you later once I've read up a little bit.
Okay. Anything else? Well, thank y'all for coming, and I'll share with y'all another document and a copy of what I talked about today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.